So, in the past two videos, I mentioned that the solution to all world problems is humanity uniting, right? A united, unified humanity is the solution because then we can make agreements on all of the world problems, world topics, and then we can resolve them, right? Because we are unified in that. So I promised you the explanation how to come to internal, how to resolve internal conflict, internal rejection, internal fear, how to resolve it in order to accomplish internal unification. Because only if you are internally unified, we can unify externally in the humanity, right? So before I explain the process of internal unification, first I would just like to give you a background. What is the process that we need to resolve, and how did this process come to how did it came in place, how it was set in place, right? So it all goes back to trauma and childhood, right? So I know in this planet many people are very mental, very intellectual, and they try to resolve everything in this life through a story, through thoughts, through thinking, right? Through analyzing life. But I don't. I'm not like that. I have this gift of recognizing, of summarizing all of the effects of trauma that were inflicted upon people, on humanity, right? All of the effects. Uh, either if you get either if you got trauma through like verbally, mentally, emotionally, physically, no matter what happened, no matter for how long did it happen to you, no matter when did it happen, did it happen in this life, in past life, whatever, it doesn't matter. Don't matter who you are, what happened to you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the context, the story, it doesn't matter. The ultimate effect, the final effect that was left on all of us of that trauma that you got, that was inflicted upon you, the ultimate effect of all of the traumas is just now you living in resistance to following upon your life force. You living in fear, in rejection, in resistance to you following upon your intuition, you following upon your life force, you following upon being whole spontaneously in every moment of life. Why? So this is the ultimate effect of what trauma does to you, no matter who you are, when it happened, how did it happen, the context, no matter, it doesn't matter. The ultimate effect of trauma is this: you living in fear, in rejection, in conflict with you. So you resisting following upon what every present moment, when you're leading a spontaneous life, what does it demand from you? You truly being responsible, responding to the moment as it is. So you not being capable of that is because of trauma. Because of trauma, now you have this resistance of this fear, conscious or unconscious of it, it doesn't matter. Now you live in this state of not being capable of spontaneously being who you are. That's it. That's it. Just do your own research. You will see everybody, we all have the same problem. It is just this internal, conscious or unconscious resistance, fear, rejection of following upon the energy, the life force that's present in us to be expressed, right? So we have this rejection of not being capable of spontaneously in every moment be as we are. That's it. This is the ultimate effect of trauma. And now why did it happen and how it was set in place? So this happened because a child, when it is born free. It doesn't have fear in the system. There is when there is no fear inflicted upon you, when you're yet not vaccinated with fear, you are fearless. And so every moment, you as a free child, before you're conditioned, you as a free child, you every second of your life are spontaneously expressing, being actually very responsible, and but not being aware of your responsibility, right? But you're just automatically being like that because a natural human being, by default, it is responsible. Because responsibility comes from wholeness. So you being capable of being as a free child, because you don't have that fear, that resistance in you, because there is yet no trauma happened to you. So you have this freedom of following upon your intuition. You are aligned with what the moment demands from you. You are aligned with the guidance of life force. You are aligned with your intuition. What's present in the moment, you can freely express every step of your life, every step of the way. When you're spontaneously living life, you're capable because there is no fear, there is no resistance in you, because there is yet no trauma. Or even if the trauma happened, there was not enough trauma that set that fear, that resistance in place forever, right? You're still resilient enough, even though some trauma happened to you, you're still resilient enough to face life as it is. Trauma didn't leave a lasting effect yet on you. So in those beginnings, in that beginning, childhood, you are fearless and you can be responsible every moment by responding accordingly to what the moment demands from you. So you are being one with life, you're being one with your energy, you are being whole, right? So the ultimate effect of trauma, now you know what it is. Before all of this, you are being free, and when you are being like this, free, our parents, our caretakers, this adult world, it's already traumatized. They are not free people. They are not enlightened people, right? They are not free from the shadows, right? They're not enlightened, not free from the shadows. So all of the adult people, like our caretakers, this world that we are born in, it's full of fear, traumatized, and so fearful of themselves. And so when you, the newborn baby, a free child, is free and whole in your own expression, you trigger that in your parents, right? Because life triggers life. So you being full of life, whole, you trigger your limited, fearful parents, and you mirror to them who they can actually be, who they actually are, that freedom of life, that acceptance of life, that true unconditional love, right? You trigger that in them. But because they are fearful, they can't face their own fear because they're too afraid to face the fears of being themselves, they reject themselves, right? If you're not strong enough to face yourself, you reject yourself. And because you reject yourself, what do? I can't accept myself. What to do? So now I will reject you. So then they reject you, right? Because they can't face themselves. They will reject you because you're constantly being free, reminding them of their own triggers, their own fears. So they then reject you, they abandon you, right? Any way, shape, or form, right? We have all this ultimate trauma of being abandoned, rejected in some parts of us that triggered our parents, right? And when this is done, when we are constantly being rejected, abandoned, verbally, physically, beaten, shouted at, or whatever, right? When this is constantly being done, then we internalize it. We start living in this fear of expressing certain parts of ourselves, and then we just remain like that, in living in constant fear. Because why? Why we remain living in constant fear? Because our parents, caretakers, they are not resolving their own issues, and so you, as a fragile baby, you have to be attached to them to survive, right? If you lose attachment, if you're truly physically abandoned, you will not survive. We're not like horse. When horse is born, they just get on their legs and they just run already around, right? They are very powerful, strong already as a newborn. But humans, when we are born, we are very fragile. For some years, if you are left alone as a very young child, you will die. You will not survive. So actually, you being abandoned and rejected in yourself, it means if I am not pleasing to my parents, I can be rejected as I was already before. Maybe this time can be even worse. Maybe they truly abandon me. So I will start pretending, lying, performing, be pleasing to them in order to survive, right? So because our survival was truly at stake, we were truly risking our life when we were being a child by being whole and free and one with our life force. But that triggered our parents, and in order to remain attached to them, to have our survival taken care of by them, we started to become pleasing and reject the parts that triggered them, because survival is more important than being whole, right? What is the point of life if you will die, right? So just because of this reason, because you had to survive your childhood, you started performing, lying, stopped having the experience of yourself. And if you don't have the experience of yourself, you become unconscious of yourself. And this is actually the method of how to dump down a person and make it unconscious. And then you become unconscious, and consciousness means automatic. Then this way of being, this default fearful way of being, becomes automated. And now I am here to explain it to you how to fully, truly, permanently resolve it, to fully be united again internally with your life force, with the life force that's coming from the Creator, right? So then, being one with the Creator, it's magical. I will explain it in the next video.